Imagine a wall of water 5 stories high. The wind? Louder than a jet engine. Waves? Smashing into steel like battering rams. This isn't some dramatized sea monster tale, it's real. It's Cape Horn. Or maybe it's the Drake Passage. Either way, you're not in a storm from a Hollywood movie. You're crossing one of Earth's most savage maritime frontiers. But here's the real question, which one is actually deadlier? Is it Cape Horn, the sailor's graveyard, where over 10,000 lives have been claimed in its icy embrace? Or is it the infamous Drake Passage, just 500 miles wide, where the Southern Ocean funnels its fury with no landmass to soften the blow? Both routes strike fear into the heart of even the most experienced captains. But what makes these places so relentlessly lethal? Is it the geography? The weather? Or is there something more, some force of nature or fate, that turns them into death traps? And here's the twist, even with GPS, satellite weather forecasting, and steel-reinforced ships, vessels still vanish. Rescue missions fail. Icebergs drift into shipping lanes. Entire expeditions have been swallowed whole without a trace. So why, in the name of sanity, do people still sail these waters? Why do explorers, scientists, and thrill-seekers risk everything for a route no one truly masters? Today, we put Cape Horn and the Drake Passage head-to-head in a battle for the deadliest title. We'll explore their violent geography, tragic shipwrecks, and terrifying modern encounters. We'll uncover what makes them tick and what makes them kill. By the end, you'll not only know which one is deadlier, you'll feel it. The chill, the fear, the madness of staring into the face of nature's most unforgiving fury. Cape Horn sits like a jagged dagger at the southern tip of South America, where the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans collide in a non-stop war of waves and wind. The land itself is deceptive, small, rocky, and seemingly insignificant. But it's the surrounding seas that make this cape infamous. Here, the ocean floor rises sharply, forcing massive swells upward into monstrous waves. Add to that the funneling effect of the Andes and Antarctic winds, and you've got a maritime blender set to max. But just 600 miles to the south lies something even more ominous, the Drake Passage. A vast, open stretch between Cape Horn and Antarctica. It may look deceptively empty, but it holds the title for the most violent stretch of ocean on Earth. With no continental landmasses to slow it down, the Antarctic circumpolar current flows freely, spinning the planet's mightiest current directly into the path of ships. These aren't just waves, they're walls of water, moving at terrifying speed and height. Winds known as the Furious 50s and Screaming 60s are the norm here, constant gales that have no mercy. They whip up rogue waves reaching heights of up to 100 feet, capable of capsizing even modern vessels. Navigation becomes a cruel game. Visibility drops, compasses falter, and the horizon? It's often just a blur of angry sky and crashing sea. Cape Horn is a choke point with jagged cliffs, crosscurrents, and deadly turns. The Drake Passage is open water, but with a ferocity that feels endless, a sea that has no ceiling, no walls, no mercy. Which is deadlier? One crushes you against rock and land. The other slowly consumes you with its infinite power. In both cases, geography isn't just a backdrop, it's the predator. For centuries, the names Cape Horn and Drake Passage have echoed through maritime history, not as routes, but as dire warnings carved in salt and steel. Let's start with Cape Horn. During the Age of Sail, it was the only way to move goods between the Atlantic and Pacific before the Panama Canal existed. But that detour came at a deadly cost. Over 800 ships are believed to have been lost here, and with them, more than 10,000 lives. Entire fleets vanished in tempests so violent, sailors claimed the waves screamed like banshees. Wooden hulls shattered, masts ripped apart, men flung overboard into seas cold enough to kill in minutes. One of the most chilling tales is that of the Wager, a British warship in the 1740s. After being separated from its convoy and caught in a storm near Cape Horn, it wrecked on a desolate island. The survivors quickly turned on each other. Mutiny erupted. Leadership collapsed. Some froze, others starved, and some descended into cannibalism. Only a handful survived to tell the world what had happened. The Drake Passage might not have cliffs or rocks, but its emptiness is just as fatal. In 1916, polar explorer Ernest Shackleton crossed the Drake in a 22-foot wooden lifeboat with 5 men. They battled freezing spray, 30-foot waves, and navigated by stars often hidden by storm clouds. It was a miracle they made it to South Georgia Island alive, but many weren't so lucky. Countless whalers, merchant ships, and early scientific expeditions disappeared without a trace. The sea doesn't offer closure, it swallows evidence whole. These aren't sailor myths. They're chilling, documented realities. The waters of Cape Horn and the Drake Passage weren't shaped by fantasy, they were forged in catastrophe. And history keeps repeating itself. You'd think that in the age of satellite tracking, reinforced steel hulls, and real-time weather forecasts, we'd have tamed these waters. But Cape Horn and the Drake Passage don't care how advanced you are, they're still winning. Every year, modern cargo ships, commercial fishing vessels, scientific expeditions, and private sailboats attempt to cross these regions. And every year, some of them vanish, capsize, or barely escape. In 2014, a Russian sailing yacht trying to round Cape Horn was slammed by a storm so brutal it snapped the mast in two. The crew sent out a distress signal just before being swallowed by the storm. A rescue helicopter reached them, but not before hypothermia had already set in. Over in the Drake Passage, even massive cruise ships aren't immune. In 2022, a luxury liner heading to Antarctica was struck by a rogue 30-foot wave. Windows were shattered, cabins flooded, and passengers injured. The wave hit without warning in what was supposed to be calm weather. Despite all protocols, there was no way to prevent it. So, what keeps these areas dangerous even today? First, unpredictable weather. Forecasting tools can't keep up with how quickly storms explode here. Second, remoteness. You're hundreds of miles from help. Third, human error. Overconfidence, fatigue, and the pressure to stay on schedule often lead captains into dangerous decisions. Some sailors describe it as riding a roller coaster blindfolded, except the track shifts, and the ride can kill you. Technology has advanced, but the sea hasn't changed. These waters remain among the most hostile on Earth. They still claim ships. They still test nerves. They still decide, on their own terms, who passes and who doesn't. And the terrifying truth? No one's ever fully prepared out there. Cape Horn or the Drake Passage, who takes the crown for the deadliest stretch of sea on Earth? Let's weigh the evidence. Cape Horn has claimed over 800 ships and more than 10,000 lives over the centuries. The storms here are sudden, ferocious, and near impossible to predict. The narrow choke point forces vessels into tight, dangerous maneuvers. Add to that the violent clash of Atlantic and Pacific currents, and the deadly geography of nearby cliffs and rocks, and you get one of the most treacherous maritime bottlenecks in history. It's not just the sea that kills, it's the land, too. But now shift to the Drake Passage. It's not tight, it's vast. But that's what makes it so lethal. The Antarctic circumpolar current flows freely here, unrestricted by continents. It circles the globe endlessly, building momentum and delivering devastating swells. Waves exceeding 100 feet have been recorded. There's no land to brace against, no shelter from the wind, and no visual bearings, just a hostile, infinite ocean. Statistically, Cape Horn has more historical fatalities. But in modern times, the Drake Passage poses more consistent threats. It's crossed frequently by Antarctic explorers, cruise liners, and scientific expeditions. Severe incidents still happen regularly. Injuries, equipment loss, and near misses are common. Experts often compare the two this way: Cape Horn is like a coiled viper, strike fast, strike hard. The Drake Passage is a grinding machine, slow, relentless, and impossible to outlast. But haste the twist, many voyages include both. The route to Antarctica passes through the Drake and often brushes Cape Horn. It's not a choice between dangers, it's a gauntlet of survival. So which is deadlier? Historically, Cape Horn. Currently, the Drake Passage. But both remain wild, unyielding, and fully capable of swallowing ships whole, and neither has any intention of stopping. If Cape Horn and the Drake Passage are so deadly, why on earth do people keep going back? It's not insanity, it's obsession. For centuries, rounding Cape Horn has been the sailor's equivalent of summiting Everest. It's considered the ultimate maritime badge of honor. In the sailing world, there's a legendary saying, below 40 degrees south, there is no law. Below 50, there is no God. Those who survive the crossing wear it like armor. Some get tattoos, some earn medals, and others wear gold earrings to mark the feat. It's not just geography, it's mythology. Global ocean races like the Vendée Globe, the Golden Globe Race, and the Volvo Ocean Race include these waters for a reason. Cape Horn and the Drake Passage are the crucibles. Only those who face them and make it through are truly tested. The danger isn't a deterrent. It's the very reason they go. Then come the scientists and explorers, particularly those heading to Antarctica. The Drake Passage is their unavoidable trial. There's no shortcut. To reach one of the most remote frontiers on Earth, they must cross one of its harshest. Even casual sailors are pulled by this call. Some spend years training. Others save their life savings for a single shot at the horn. They don't do it for speed. They do it for the story. The truth is, humans are drawn to edges. The edge of land. The edge of safety. The edge of possibility. Cape Horn and the Drake Passage are more than sea routes, they're symbols. Of endurance. Of ambition. Of our willingness to face chaos just to say we did. In a world where everything feels mapped and measured, these waters remind us, nature still holds the upper hand. And some of us are still brave or foolish enough to challenge it. So, Cape Horn versus the Drake Passage. Which is deadlier? The answer isn't simple. Cape Horn holds the title for historical devastation, over 800 ships lost, thousands of lives taken. A place where wind and rock conspire to tear vessels apart with brutal precision. It is, without question, the sailor's graveyard. But the Drake Passage? It's the modern nightmare, the ongoing threat, an unbroken torrent of Southern Ocean fury that never stops moving. No cliffs, no rocks, just sheer momentum, waves, wind, and cold that never ends. It doesn't attack in a single strike. It breaks you over time. The truth is, they're both killers. Cape Horn is the punch you don't see coming. The Drake is the slow drowning, each brutal in its own way. Together, they guard the edge of the world like ancient beasts. What makes them terrifying isn't just their power, it's their unpredictability. With all our technology, all our maps and models, we still can't fully control what happens out there. These waters are reminders that nature still holds the upper hand. But maybe that's exactly why we're drawn to them. Cape Horn and the Drake Passage speak to something deeper in us, the drive to confront fear, to test ourselves, to stand on the edge and look into the chaos. In a world where so much is predictable, these seas are not. And that makes them sacred. Maybe that's the real question, not which one is deadlier, but which one would you face if you had to? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you found this story as wild and gripping as we did, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and join us again. Because this planet still has secrets worth chasing.